I remember when I wrote that check, I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, and I thought about it. I said, I've written checks to Virginia Tech before, but this is to the collective, and I said I didn't feel right. Something didn't hit me right. And I just thought about it and said, maybe there's a really good spin we could put on this.
And greetings, everybody, and welcome to Buzz for Good, where we talk all things nonprofit, the people they serve, and the good they do. And on today's show, we are talking name, image, and likeness, or NIL, which allows college athletes to earn money, in some cases millions of dollars. NIL has revolutionized college athletics, and some say for the worse. But what exactly does NIL and student athletes have to do with nonprofits? Well, stick around for our conversation today featuring the Hokie Way. But before we get to the Hokie Way, I am Michael Hemphill, creator and host of the TV show Buzz that airs on Blue Ridge PBS. Each episode we feature a nonprofit organization in Virginia, and we partner that nonprofit with a professional marketing agency or individual who donates their time and talent to help the nonprofit achieve more buzz. We have produced 30 TV shows to date, featuring 50 or so nonprofit organizations from throughout Virginia, and our next new episode airs this Wednesday, May 3rd on Blue Ridge PBS, starring literacy volunteers of the New River Valley. And we want to thank our good friends at WordSprint in Blacksburg for coming onto the show again and donating their marketing time and expertise, helping literacy volunteers. And we thank 100 Plus Women Who Care NRV for providing the sponsorship support needed to fund our production costs. All are invited to a free watch party that we are hosting at McLean's Theater in Blacksburg on Wednesday, May 3rd. Doors open at 6 p.m. Come and enjoy with our community this episode, again, featuring literacy volunteers of the New River Valley. And more information can be found on our website, buzzforgood.com. That's buzz, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good.com. You can also find more about us on our social media channels at Buzz for Good on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, the Roanoke Cultural Endowment, which provides long-term funding solutions for Roanoke's arts and cultural organizations. Freedom First, where people bank for good, freedomfirst.com. And Partners in Financial Planning, a Southwest Virginia-based financial management firm, partnersinfinancialplanning.com. As I mentioned at the start of today's show, NIL, name, image, likeness, has transformed already college athletics since it was first introduced just a couple of years ago. And it will put more than $1 billion, that's billion with a B, $1 billion into student athletes' pockets this year. It's a new world that's really rife with cynicism and greed, but not at Virginia Tech, if the nonprofit, the Hokie Way, has a say. Now, what is the Hokie Way? Well, earlier this week, I sat down with Virginia Tech alumnus and superfan, Jim Petrine, who is also president of the Hokie Way nonprofit, to learn more about how they are transforming NILs into vehicles for positive change for the community, while also helping Virginia Tech not only attract and keep the best student athletes on the court and field, but also fulfill its mission of Ut Prosim, Latin for that I may serve. Well, Jim Petrine, president of the Hokie Way, thanks so much for joining me here on Buzz for Good.
Well, thank you for having me. Just like to get the word out.
Excellent. Well, and we're going to get to the word about the Hokie Way. But first, I've been, I'm a sports fan. I've been, hearing all about NIL, name, image, likeness for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised that, people I consider to be sports fans, maybe not knowing what NIL is. So for those out there like that, what is NIL?
NIL comes down to the simple name, image, and likeness. And it all came about because of the Supreme Court, a case that was brought by student athletes and lawyers against the NCAA, saying they were limiting students' ability to make money or to use their name, image, and likeness just like any other student could.
Right.
In other words, if you were a student and you were in engineering classes, you could use your name, image, and likeness to advertise or do whatever. Mm-hmm. But somehow student athletes were limited on what they could do.
Yeah.
And Supreme Court said, nope, 9-0, which the Supreme Court doesn't rule anything 9-0. Said, yeah, you guys are limiting students from gaining money that they should be able to get.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because the schools are obviously benefiting from these students' names, images, and likenesses.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
And
they're selling jerseys with their names on it.
Right, right. Now, critics would say that the students are receiving financial benefits just in the form of free education and all the other perks that come with being a student athlete at a Division I school. But it is still fairly limited, and the opportunity for these students to make money at this level, they've earned it.
Yep. And I'll just jump into it. I think everybody kind of first said the same thing. Hey, this is paying athletes. What is this? In fact, when I first knew about it, I was like, this is a tough way. I'm a big athletic fan, but I got to write a check to this group that's going to do what? Yeah. And I didn't have the best feeling about it. And to be honest with you, that's when I kind of thought about maybe we could do it in a little bit different way. Even though, as I learned more about it, the news media always talks about the big case, the crazy deals you hear about, the multi-million-dollar deal for the big quarterbacks. Well, 98% of the student athletes are not getting anything like that. Yeah. That's what makes the news. That's not what's happening. Most of these kids could really use extra money, to be perfectly honest with you. Again, you think about, well, he's getting a free education. But, a lot of these kids barely make it to college or coming from tough areas. They don't have a whole lot to, clothes on their back when they show up. And so they need a little bit more. So, and most kids do not go on to the NFL or whatever, NBA, MLB, 98% of athletes we've all seen, go on to other jobs. So it's just, I think it turns out to be a pretty good situation if you can do it.
Well, you mentioned that originally you had those same feelings as some of the critics. Was there one particular incident that you learned about that, made you start thinking a different way?
No, it is actually when I wrote my first check to a quote unquote collective that was going to pay or work with student athletes through this name, image, and likeness. And I remember when I wrote that check, I just didn't feel right. To be honest with you. And I thought about it. I said, I've written checks to Virginia Tech before, but this is to the collective. And I said, I didn't feel right. Something didn't hit me right. And I just, again, learned through the learning process of what was going on, thought about it and said, maybe there's a really good spin we could put on this thing.
Well, it goes, and let's talk about that spin. So not, you're a different way or the Hokie Way.
Correct.
And so here we are with the Hokie Way. What is that? Why is that different than all these other collectives that all other schools have?
Well, most collectives deal with a business that is wanting to use a student athlete to promote their business. So I really didn't have a business at the time that I wanted to do that. I do have businesses, but I couldn't see a student athlete helping my business that much. So I didn't see the positive there. But what I did think was, what if we had student athletes promoting charitable organizations? maybe there's a way we could do that. Because a lot of student athletes truly enjoy working with charitable organizations, and they're already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could facilitate that better by setting up an organization that was actually a charity that then would help hire these student athletes to work for charities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Again, that was just a thought I had, and
here we are with
Yeah.
the Hokie Way.
yeah, met with Jim Petrine
Yep.
and John Dooley, a couple guys who know a lot of the ins and outs of charity and the different workings of Virginia Tech. And we talked about it over a drink, and next thing I know, we're setting up an organization.
Not just an organization, but a nonprofit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doing all the proper applying for a 501c3 status.
Mm-hmm.
Got it pretty quickly. Fortunately, we had some good people all volunteering their time to do this. And we got approved in October of this year, this past year. And the concept began less than a year ago, the original concept.
Yeah, I've heard y'all talking about this, that basically you are building the plane while you're flying it.
Absolutely, yeah. And all the rules in NIL are changing constantly too. So, yeah, there's a lot of building the plane while you fly it. So it's fun.
Yeah, so you create a 501c3, which allows people like you and me to make a contribution to the Hokie Way.
Correct.
Receive a tax deduction.
Correct.
But then that money then flows to the student athletes. And in exchange, the student athletes are making appearances for these various nonprofit organizations to help them perhaps, raise their visibility, attract more donors and volunteers and clients to their cause.
Absolutely. We do partnerships with other charitable organizations,
Mm-hmm.
and then they tell us what they would like the student athlete to do, such as Special Olympics would actually have basketball players come and play games with their kids, be part of an activity, do that type of thing. And it's a great activity for everybody.
Yeah.
And then we are able to compensate the student athlete for doing that. But all Feeding America, Feeding Southwest Virginia, actually it is.
That's right.
They help with the food organization lines and do different events with them.
Yeah. Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia.
Correct.
Yeah.
The Boys and Girls Club, Southwest Virginia. We actually have 8 organizations that we coordinate with, which are our partners.
Okay.
And I'll just list them off.
Please.
Feeding Southwest Virginia, Special Olympics of Virginia, New River Valley, the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Virginia, Life Ring Foundation, which is actually a children's cancer funding, which is a very good organization, mm-hmm. American Heart Association, Eastmont Community Foundation, Ronald McDonald House, and the Roanoke Prevention Council.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Do you know of another similar created NIL nonprofit?
There are some similar, not very few exactly alike. Yeah. But there are some different similar ones out there. But yeah, we're all a little bit different.
Okay.
I think our setup is probably better than the others.
Of course.
Shocking.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I'm joined here on Buzz for Good by Jim Petrine, who is the president of the Hokie Way, the Virginia Tech's, response creation for NIL money flowing through to student athletes and partnering with area nonprofits to make it happen.
Yes, we are a 501c3.
Yeah.
There is another organization that also does the regular name, image, and likeness collective with businesses.
Okay.
And we actually coordinate with them mm-hmm. to help keep our costs down.
Okay.
So they have the partnership with the student athlete, actually.
Gotcha.
So we employ them technically mm-hmm. in a way to do the final work of working with the other charities.
I find it interesting. I think there's something unique to Virginia Tech and its philosophy and culture about this, because I'm from Alabama.
Yeah.
And, I grew up a Crimson Tide fan, and I have aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings who went to Auburn. Yeah. And I assure you, there's not an SEC school that cares at all about nonprofit causes when it comes to, their NIL deals. They just want the best players on the field or on the court representing them to win championships. So that's all they care about. But at Virginia Tech, we've got this motto, Ut Prosim, Latin for that I may serve.
Absolutely. We originally actually wanted to call it Ut Prosim LLC, but the university said, there's a lot of rules you have to follow. So we had to talk to the university about that, and they didn't like that. In fact, we had to get the okay for us to use Hokie even in our name. So we had to get approval for that. Yeah. But it truly was the thought of that I may serve. Yeah. Was definitely our motto. In fact, you can't see it on the radio, but our emblem is the pylons. Kind of mimic the pylons at Virginia Tech. And
it's beautiful.
It is what, we really felt like it was fitting for Virginia Tech fans to follow in that line.
Because I imagine a lot of fans were like you originally, a little hesitant to just suddenly start stroking checks to pay athletes to perform.
Yes. Yeah. But that's not what you're doing technically. You can't pay them for a performance. You can't pay them for so many touchdowns. You can't pay them for anything like that. It has to be done separately from their athletic. It's done. Yeah, it can't be a incentive. Yeah,
exactly.
If you score a touchdown, you get dollars. That can't be done.
Yeah. But I mean, the reality of college athletics these days is, you've got to have a flourishing NIL program for your college athletics program to flourish.
Absolutely.
But what I love about this is that you're actually putting some heart into this and service into this, which is beautiful.
Yep. We feel it's, like I said, just ties in perfectly with the Tech motto. Mm-hmm. And it ties in good. Our coaches understand it too. They understand they want student athletes who want to be here at Virginia Tech to be at Virginia Tech, not just because it's the highest dollar.
Right.
We don't want the athlete who's just going to the highest bidder. Mm-hmm. We want somebody who wants to be at Virginia Tech, but we also want to be competitive. So we have to have some money out there.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So,
this week we got some good news on Virginia Tech Hokie basketball, both men's and women's. Yeah. This week for men's, that Hunter Couture, who had one more year of eligibility, could have, gone on, decided to come back for one more year. A couple weeks ago, Elizabeth Kitley. Again, same thing. She is planning on graduating. She could have gone on, but it says she came back. Yeah. And I'm wondering how much of an incentive was the NIL opportunities for Virginia Tech for them to come back? Would they have come back without NIL?
Obviously that's a question you'd have to ask them.
Sure.
But I believe they definitely was a major or a big part in their decision. Yeah. Because now, they're looking at what they can do outside, or come back for a fifth year and get some money while doing what they love. Yeah. So I'm sure it definitely played a big part in their decision.
Yeah. It's funny. So you sound just a little hesitant, reticent to talk about the money. And and we had a little conversation prior to this recording around the same thing. And, for decades, again, I think most people are like you. For decades, we've always been taught that, money corrupts college athletics and our student athletes. Right. And, it was a dirty, forbidden, illegal thing. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden, everybody's got to talk about it because that's just the state of the world. But does it still feel a little uncomfortable to you talking about the money?
It does, because I think people name, image, likeness, people are focusing on the bad side of it.
Yeah.
I think that's bad. And in fact, I happen to know that Kitley and Hunter Couture could have made more money if they went elsewhere. They stayed at Virginia Tech because they like Virginia Tech. They're comfortable here. And so, yeah, they are going to make pretty good money, but they weren't in it just for the money, which is what you would like.
When you say elsewhere, you mean another college?
Yep.
Not necessarily the pros.
Yeah, another college.
Another college.
Even, yes.
They would have made more money.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's one of the bad things, I think, about name, image, and likeness. There's supposedly the NCAA is having a hard time keeping the tampering.
Yeah.
Because as always, there's ways of getting around the rules of people tampering and letting people know, hey, if you come to this school, we'll give you this amount of money. That's not supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But, yeah, guess what? Some other places do that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, kudos to you for creating this and, again, putting some heart into this whole opportunity that Virginia Tech has now to keep great athletes here and furthering their education and representing the school on the field, on the court, et cetera.
I'm enjoying it, and I think I enjoy it the more, again, you hear about the Kitleys, you hear about the Hunter Coutures, but through Triumph, which is the other NIL, or the true NIL collective that we work with, they've already engaged 250 student athletes.
Wow.
So yeah,
Just at Virginia Tech or
at Virginia
Commonwealth?
Tech?
Oh, wow.
Just at Virginia Tech.
250,
or more.
Some
type of deal. Yeah, it's getting to the kids who really could use a few bucks. It's a positive. I'm seeing more and more the positive. And again, and when you see some kids who first signed with Virginia Tech in football, and they're coming from some tough families in some areas, and at least they're getting a little something to help them out. It is really a positive.
Yeah. Well, once again, I'm joined here on Buzz for Good by Jim Petrine, who is the president of the Hokie Way, a nonprofit 501c3 organization created in partnership with Virginia Tech, or with the blessing of Virginia Tech?
With the blessing, I guess I would say. Yeah, we had to coordinate, certain things. But
so with the blessing of Virginia Tech, and it allows fans, friends, to make tax-deductible contributions through the Hokie Way, which eventually make their way into NIL deals for student athletes at Virginia Tech. But those student athletes then make appearances and help promote local nonprofit organizations to help them with their missions, such as Feeding Southwest Virginia, Eastmont Community Foundation, the American Heart Association, Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia, and on and on. It's a beautiful model and a rare one in the country.
Yeah.
Share with us your Hokie story.
Oh, wow. I'm a Virginia Tech grad in civil engineering, and I think I love Virginia Tech sports because I walked on to the football field as a walk-on, but then immediately walked off when I went to 5-hour calculus and had engineering classes. So I didn't last very long, but I've always wished that I stayed, so that's why I still hang around Virginia Tech sports.
Was that always the school you were going to attend? Are you from around here?
No, I'm from Tidewater, Virginia, but my grades in English were not too good. And my mathematics was extremely high, so it was pretty much a no-brainer that I had to be an engineer.
Okay.
All right.
And so came to Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech had an excellent engineering program at the time, and being an in-state school, it was almost a no-brainer. And also, I did have an older brother who went there.
I see. Okay.
I had a couple other older brothers went to other schools in the state, but I liked Virginia Tech the best.
Okay. And I've obviously stayed a fan throughout.
Been a sports fan my entire time, ever since graduating. And then I married my wife. In fact, our first date was a Virginia Tech football game. And fortunately, she is, I'm almost as much a fan as I am.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're both very big sports fans and very big fans of Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We moved here in 1997. So right on the advent of Michael Vick,
The great Vic years.
the great Vick years, the national championship game against Florida State.
Yeah.
So we kind of got in and it got hooked immediately.
Yeah.
And then with three daughters of mine who are all been big basketball and soccer fans throughout the years, and watching them play, and then being able to come here to Virginia Tech and play on the fields here, and then of course of late, the Virginia Tech women's basketball team has just been so exciting. To watch.
Yeah, it's really positive, and I love it too when I see how our student athletes perform on the stage and speaking engagements.
Mm-hmm.
It's so positive. The Virginia Tech women's team was just so positive. Everything they did in that run for the Final Four.
Wonderful representatives of the school.
Yes, and that's why I love to be able to support them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's obviously one of the positives of the Hokie Way or the NIL deals. What are some of the other positives that you have seen? Maybe not in general NIL, but just through the Hokie Way.
Well, like I said, through the Hokie Way, I genuinely love watching our student athletes who enjoy doing positive things for charitable organizations. In fact, they've been involved with charitable organizations long before the Hokie Way was there. We've done a lot of positive things with our athletes. So it's just another fun way to make sure they can do even more of that and make it be a positive for them too.
You started the Hokie Way about a year ago. And where do things stand now with the organization? As far as we could talk about how much money has been raised so far, or what your goal is for the year to provide to student athletes?
Well, our year end, the concept came up about a year ago.
Right.
We actually were not able to start collecting funds until October. We finally got our 501c3 approval in October. And between the 1st of October and the end of that first year, we were able to get a little over $600,000.
Wow.
Which year-end push was a big deal. Fundraising for charities at year-end is always the best. So those are your best months to be reminding everybody about your tax deduction. And so, so we did pretty good in starting out.
What's your pitch to somebody who maybe is thinking about donating?
It definitely is a great positive. Obviously, the 501c3 being the tax deduction is a good pitch. But the fact that you have to be most likely a Virginia Tech fan, it is a great way to support your student athletes to be able to do something they love to do and make a huge positive for Ut Prosim, just what we all are, built into our blood. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So that is.
Has it kind of sold itself?
It has, as long as people don't have the negative on the name, image, and likeness. Yeah. That is still what we have to overcome more often than not. Is somebody say, yeah, that's a great idea, but I still don't like that name, image, that paying athlete, that thought of paying athletes.
Right.
There's still a lot of people that I'd say you have to win over by saying, again, you're just looking at the bad things that you see in the press. 98% of these kids could really use some money. They're not getting $1 million deals. They're getting smaller deals that they could really use.
So $600,000 really just in the first 3 months?
Correct.
Is there a goal for 2023?
That's a good question. We were just talking about that. It's, collectively through us, Triumph, and, the whole NIL ecosystem, it's probably To be competitive in our market, we need to be in the $3 million to maybe even $5 million a year, to be honest with you.
And to be competitive in your market, it means like,
when I say our competition, we're not going to try to outbeat Alabama, Texas A&M, the schools you're hearing that are throwing out some pretty high dollars. Even though, again, the press has had talks about the really crazy dollars, and a lot of that's exaggerated from what we've seen in reality. They're not paying out that kind of money either. So to be in when I'm saying us to be competitive, we'll need to have about $3 million to $4 million for the entire athletic program for a full year.
Okay.
And that's a guess.
Yeah. You, for the spring game a couple weeks ago, you did not charge admission, but you did ask for donations toward the Hokie Way.
Okay, and you're saying
Sorry.
That's the university, and that is key. We are at arm's length with the university.
Yeah.
We're not a university organization.
Good point.
They know what we're doing, we know what they're doing. And they're allowed to tell people, if you're interested, this is a group we like who's doing this. And that's what they did in that email. They just said, they couldn't collect money and give it to us.
Right.
But they said, instead of collecting money, we would like you guys to go to this website and think about donating. So that was all they could do. They could point our fans in our direction, but they can't require it or do anything like that.
Is there another event coming up that you would want people to know about if they were interested in supporting the Hokie Way?
We're just trying to get the word out across the board. There's not one big event that's coming up. When we do the tailgate tour, we'll try to get the word out, and that's like in June 7th, I think it is, here in Roanoke. The Roanoke Valley Hokie Club will do have a event at the Hotel Roanoke. We'll, again, just all those different events is just getting word of mouth out to the different fans.
Well, for more information, you can always go to
thehokieway.org.
thehokieway.org.
Yes.
And find out all about it. You can see some of the nonprofit partners that they are working with, to get student athletes to go and make appearances with these nonprofits to raise their profile, again, to hopefully help the nonprofits raise more awareness and donors and volunteers to come join their cause.
Correct.
It's a beautiful model.
Yep. We like to call it a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Really for,
Yeah. So once again, Jim Petrine, president of the Hokie Way, thanks so much for coming to Bus for Good, and go Hokies.
Go Hokies. Thank you.
And that was my conversation with Jim Petrine, president of the Hokie Way. And again, for more information, visit thehokieway.org. One of the Hokie Way's partner nonprofits is Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia. And so after chatting with Jim Petrine earlier this week, I decided to connect by Zoom with my good friend Emily Pinkerton, Director of Development of Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia, to learn more about how their new partnership has and will benefit the organization. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Michael. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And for those who don't know the full work of Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia, of course, you could go to our Buzz episode that we put out there in January of this year, all about Boys and Girls Clubs. But in a 30-second elevator pitch, what does the nonprofit do for Southwest Virginia?
Sure, Michael. So we serve at 11 different club locations across the region and provide after school and summer youth development programming to local youth who need us the most. We provide mentors, safe place to land, and high yield programs that really set these kids in our region up for great futures.
Lovely. And so talk about, how did you guys get introduced to the Hokie Way?
Sure. So it actually was a conversation that started with our former CEO and Kelly Woolwine there with the Hokie Way group. And so I think Kelly kind of planted the seed with Michelle, and then as she moved on, the relationship came to me, and getting into this year, we were able to move forward with the team in solidifying this partnership. And our team and our board could not be more excited about this. At a nonprofit, we obviously have a very limited marketing budget to share our story, so the opportunity to have this partnership and to have the ability to get our story out in different ways and to utilize that name, image, and likeness of these athletes to reach new audiences was just so exciting to all of us here.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I mean, here you are working with a population that's, like age 5 to 18, right?
Uh-huh.
And
yep.
To be able to have partnerships with these Virginia Tech student athletes, football players, basketball players, baseball players, golfers, on and on, has got to be pretty exciting for not only your staff, but for your kids as well.
Absolutely. That's what we do. That's our mission, is to enable our young people to reach their full potential. And so providing them opportunities to see what their potential could be by becoming student athletes, and what lies even beyond that is really exciting. To kind of open the door to this opportunity for our kids to see and to have relationships with student athletes, for sure.
Yeah, no. So I know the Hokie Way is, just started really in October. So they're 6 months into this and are already doing wonderful things, but still, some of these partnerships are very new. So it's my understanding you probably haven't done much with them yet, but, what are some of the current plans as well as potential plans that people can look forward to?
Sure. Yeah, we had a fun brainstorm session with some of their team and our marketing committee, and basically the options were endless, and to create a wish list of how we could work together this year. So as you mentioned, we are early in the partnership. We did partner on a campaign around a donation dash for Virginia Tech, and utilize their athletes to help spread the word about our participation in this challenge. That was an online app challenge for basketball season that kicked back some dollars to the Boys and Girls Club based on how many points the community rallied through that app. So that was our first partnership with the Hokie Way. Okay. Looking ahead, we are still looking to the athletes to help spread our story via social media. We know they all have good followings and different audiences, and a big goal of ours this year is to expand our reach in terms of awareness in the outside of Roanoke, down where we do have other clubs in the Montgomery County area, where Virginia Tech is. And so we're going to continue to utilize them to empower them to share our message. We'll be participating in the Give Local NRV Day in June. And so we're hoping to utilize that opportunity with their athletes to help spread the story of our presence in that area to folks that might not know about us.
Yeah,
but then in person.
Sorry, real quick. When you talk about, help using athletes to hopefully spread the word, you're talking about primarily through their social media accounts, where they would tweet out or, post out on Instagram, et cetera. Hey,
exactly.
People look out for this particular event that's supporting Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia. We are really excited to be part of this and hope you will be as well. That kind of thing.
Exactly. We know they have great followings. And so just the ability to share a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how we serve this region through their social networks is a huge opportunity for us.
Yeah, right. Okay, so there's that kind of engagement with the student athletes, but then any in-person things happening?
Yeah, so coming up here in May is our Pro-Am for Kids. That's our golf tournament fundraiser. And so we'll have some of their student athlete golfers come to that event, and we'll pair them up with some of our club members who will be taking the first shot and demonstrating some of the golf skills that they have learned through a partnership we've had with First tee. And so we're also going to send them off on the golf carts with our club kids to really help our kids learn about the game of golf as that tournament plays out that day. So what a wonderful opportunity, riding around on a golf cart with these student athletes to hear more about their story and really inspire our kids. And then we've asked to have maybe some student athlete runners at our 4 on the 4th race to help promote that, and then to be there that day coming up in July on the 4th. And then we also, at the end of the year, we'll have in the fall, we're launching our own mini series podcast. And so we're thinking about how we might be able to incorporate some voices from our Hokie Way partnership, and also promoting that podcast series that will tell a little bit more about our story and who we are and what we do.
That is incredible. I love all these different ways that you're already considering, how to engage with student athletes, whether it's through their social media or whether in person with the golf team. Emily Pinkerton, Director of Development for Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia. Thank you so much for sharing with us kind of the partnership with the Hokie Way and plans and aspirations moving forward. And good luck with all you guys have got going on. And of course, we want to conclude this segment with Go Hokies.
Go Hokies. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Emily. Well, many thanks again to Jim Petrine and Emily Pinkerton, Director of Development for Boys and Girls Clubs of Southwest Virginia, for sharing with me more about the Hokie Way. And I am really excited because in addition to the conversations I was able to have this week about the Hokie Way, we are actually going to be producing a new Buzz TV episode on the Hokie Way over the coming months. And we will look forward to presenting that to the community on Blue Ridge PBS sometime in August. Speaking of Buzz for Good, our TV show, don't forget that our newest episode airs this Wednesday, May 3rd on Blue Ridge PBS, starring literacy volunteers of the New River Valley. And here is a couple of minutes of a sneak listen to our episode.
You asked me what literacy is. Literacy is so many things. It's opportunity, it's independence, it's a bridge and a ladder, and it's power. And I feel like we're like the electric company, that by sharing the light of literacy, we're giving people power. And that's a really amazing thing, thanks to our volunteers and the community support.
My name is Frida Ferguson. I'm 63 years old. Well, my father never would send me to school, so I never learned how to read. And a friend of mine got me in with the literacy volunteers. And I've been doing well ever since. Met Nikki, and she's a great tutor.
I think we just get along really well.
Yes.
I decided to give it a try. I was a little bit concerned about not having really the skills to be able to teach, but this one-on-one is perfect because I think I can handle one-on-one teaching better than I can a group. And we have meshed. We're friends in this, and that's nice.
Yes. It's hard not knowing how to read. You get letters, you can't read. You have to ask somebody, and that's very embarrassing to have to ask somebody. And that's been ongoing my whole life. And I just decided, well, I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can't do it. I waited a long time, but now I'm doing it. Literacy volunteer is probably the best thing that's happened to me.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and Nikki, of
Well,
course.
we're friends. That's just worked out. I'm really glad that, because I like you.
I like you too. It's like when I read a book, I think, well, did I really do that? But it feels great.
Information about our free watch party at McLean's Theater in Blacksburg can be found on our website, buzzforgood.com. That's buzz, B-U-Z-Z, 4, good.com. Also, find out more about us through our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, all at Buzz for Good. Now, I'm often asked how I came up with this idea behind Buzz. and creating a TV show featuring nonprofits receiving pro bono marketing resources. Well, earlier this week, I was invited to share my story with the Lynchburg Morning Rotary Club in Lynchburg, Virginia. And my talk was recorded, so I thought to close out today's show, I would share it with you here. It's a story involving an old nursing home, a fundraising race featuring time travel, and my heartfelt passion for the work that nonprofits do in our community, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Hugh, and thank you to all of you for allowing me to come today. Again, my name is Michael Hemphill, and I am the creator and host of the TV show Buzz that airs on Blue Ridge PBS on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. And each episode of Buzz, we feature a nonprofit organization and the great work that it does in the community, so we'll talk later. In addition to that, what we do is we provide the nonprofit with a marketing team affiliated with the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke, and the AAF of Roanoke includes Lynchburg. And those marketing professionals donate their time and talent to help the nonprofit achieve more buzz. Very good. Well done. All right, and so, all this kind of stems from now going on about 20 years of love and appreciation and passion for the work that nonprofit organizations do. And if you think about it, who all of you here is affiliated outside of the Rotary Club with a nonprofit organization? That's just about every hand. And shout out some of the nonprofits, what is the mission of that nonprofit that you're affiliated with? Just shout them out. Hope and Healing?
Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance.
Regional Business Alliance.
United Way.
What's that?
United Way.
United Way.
Red Cross.
Red Cross.
Vector Space.
Vector Space. That's a maker.
Makerspace.
Makerspace. Yeah. YMCA.
At least one's on.
What's that? Parkview Community Mission. Okay. Any others? What's that?
Lynchburg Grows.
Lynchburg Grows. So is that agricultural, I assume?
Healthy food and employment for people with disabilities.
Wonderful. What you can gather from this is that nonprofits literally do everything. There are arts and culture. They are homeless shelters. They are food pantries. They are assisted devices for children with disabilities. On and on and on. And you think about other countries around the world. These services are oftentimes provided by government and taxes. But in our country, we have this great unique system called nonprofit organizations where through charitable contributions, it makes this work possible. And this is vital work to our community. And so I've always loved them. Like I said, started with this about 20 years ago in Shawsville. I was a former newspaper reporter with the Roanoke Times, who then became stay-at-home dad and looking for something to do outside the home during that time, and got affiliated with a local nonprofit called the Eastmont Community Foundation, which at the time was working to try to revitalize this old abandoned nursing home in the community. And I just found I had kind of this knack for fundraising and for marketing, and so over the course of several years, we were able to successfully revitalize this old nursing home, about a 40,000 square foot building, into a multi-purpose community center that really was about a $2.5 million public-private partnership that now features a public library, a wellness center, a community center, private office space, a museum, art gallery, all these sorts of things. And out of that, I just kind of cut my teeth, if you will, in the nonprofit world. From there, went on to become Director of University Relations for a little, on an interim basis at Radford University, and then got a job as the Director of Marketing and Development at the Science Museum of Western Virginia in Roanoke. And it was out of there where the seeds were planted for this TV show that I do now called Buzz. I was there, and someone on my team came up with this brilliant idea for a fundraising race to benefit the Science Museum. You know, we're all familiar with the 5K races, which are 5K, or in mileage, that is 3.1 miles, right? So someone on my team said, why don't we do the Time Traveler Pi Miler race, because we're geeky in the Science Museum. And so pi miles would be how long? 3.14 miles, very good. And the time traveler piece came in because we would start the race at 1:50 a.m. on that cold November morning when clocks fall back and we revert back to daylight standard time. So you start the race at 1:50 a.m. and by the time you finish the race, you're actually finishing it before you started it. So it was the time traveler pi miler, right? It was a brilliant concept, but like most nonprofits, we really didn't have the budget to properly promote the race so that people would want to find out about it and register for it. Well, about that time, I learned about this event that was put on by the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke at the time called Create-a-thon. And Create-a-thon is where various marketing professionals from throughout the city would come together and over the course of a 24-hour period take in various nonprofit projects and create marketing assets out of them to help the nonprofit. And so we had this great team that came. They actually filmed, in that 24-hour period, they filmed a 30-second television commercial, which was really creative, involving somebody basically disappearing and materializing again as if they had just finished the race in a time traveler type of fashion. And got the commercial airing on local television leading up to the race. And it was so successful that we ended up on this, it was like 25 degrees on this November morning, but we had more than 300 people signed up to participate in the first ever race. And it was due to this marketing campaign. And so out of that, I was like, wow, this is a really cool concept. You got a nonprofit organization, the great work that it does, and then you have these marketing professionals who are donating their time and talent to help the nonprofit achieve more buzz. So I kind of planted the seeds of, man, there should be a TV show about this, because you have all these home makeover shows where people come and, the professionals will come and, renovate somebody's home, either for the owner or to flip it. There's, I don't know how many, there's whole channels devoted to this type of concept on TV. Well, so years went by, kept kind of thinking about this, and finally in early 2019, maybe it was a midlife crisis, approaching 50, I don't know, but it was like, okay, it's time for me to do something about this. And so I was able to assemble a marketing agency who was willing to donate their time. What I found was that marketing agencies, is anyone here affiliated with a marketing company or advertising company? I would imagine that that agency does some pro bono work for a nonprofit. They all do. It's a beautiful testimony to the work of advertising agencies, but they don't really promote themselves doing that work. So I thought, well, here's a great opportunity for the advertising agency to get a little publicity for the pro bono work that they're doing. We featured the nonprofit, so I was able to assemble a marketing agency, now goes by the name 5 Points Creative in Roanoke. We were able to line up a production team affiliated with Click and Pledge Foundation. You may be familiar with them. They're an online giving platform. And then got a couple of co-hosts, because there's no way in heck I was actually going to be the host of this show. Got a couple of co-hosts who are some major personalities in the Roanoke area. And then we got the nonprofit Healing Strides of Virginia that was willing to be our featured nonprofit in this pilot episode. And Healing Strides is a nonprofit that provides horseback riding therapy for people of all ages and disabilities, from children with autism all the way to veterans suffering from PTSD. So I thought that'd be a good subject for us to feature this opening show, because you've got horses and you've got children and you've got veterans. The three of those together just makes for a compelling TV show. And over the course of 2019, we put all of these, we worked to develop this episode. We ended up screening it at the Grandin Theater in Roanoke, historic theater there. And Blue Ridge PBS came. They really liked it, and they said, hey, if you produce more of these, then we will air this on our station. So over the course of winter 2019 into spring of 2020, I started developing a production budget. It was going to start getting ready to launch, a sponsorship campaign to try to underwrite our production costs, which were pretty substantial at the time, considering we were paying for this production team, as well as the two hosts that were going to be on the show. And then the world came to an end. And so I was kind of left in the position of, all right, well, do we just put all this project on hold until things pick up, we get over this pandemic after 2 weeks or however many weeks it was going to be, or do I figure out some way to move forward with it? Because it became very obvious that it was going to be a little longer than just 2 weeks, a 2-week shutdown for this to take place. So I ended up going with option B because really, in the start of the pandemic, nonprofits needed this help more than ever. And so I kind of restructured the budget. I found a new production team that was able to do this at a much lower rate, but still great quality. I kind of got rid of my hosts because they were very gracious about donating their time for the pilot, but they expected some compensation once we got this going. And I was who I could end up affording for the show. And we began production in about 3 years ago today on some new episodes. And fast forward to today, and we have now produced 31 episodes featuring probably more than 40 different nonprofit organizations. Each one, we're able to present their mission, but also then bring in, again, a different team of marketing professionals each time who provide a new website. They might create a digital marketing campaign, a social media campaign. They might do a rebranding for a nonprofit that has just an outdated logo or name or tagline. They might have created a promotional video. Lots of different assets that marketing professionals can provide to help the nonprofit attract more donors and volunteers and clients to their cause. Oftentimes, nonprofits don't have the time, the staff, the resources, the expertise to properly promote themselves. And donors oftentimes don't like to support nonprofits to pay for more staff, or what the donors want their funding going to help the nonprofit achieve its mission. And so those nonprofits are kind of caught because they really do need to promote themselves to attract more people to their cause, let more people know what they're doing, but they just don't have the opportunity to do so. So that's where this TV show comes in. We have featured Children's Assistive Technology Service, Mill Mountain Zoo, Southwest Virginia Ballet, Feeding Southwest Virginia, Eastmont Community Foundation. We are currently working on new episodes featuring the YMCA of Virginia's Blue Ridge. We have been doing a 6-episode partnership with the Roanoke Cultural Endowment over the last year, highlighting arts and cultural organizations in Roanoke and how they intersect with various different areas. And so right now we're working on one with the impact that arts and cultural organizations play in terms of economic development. We often talk about, trying to promote a city's or community's quality of life and attracting new companies or inspiring new companies to invest there. But we don't really think about how arts and cultural organizations, what role they play in the quality of life. And so we're doing an episode on that. So a lot of really cool episodes that we're currently working on right now. We are working hard to get buzz beyond Blue Ridge PBS, and so we're kind of starting to upload those episodes to a national platform so that other PBS stations across the country can download them. While they are all focused on Virginia nonprofits right now, I think that the nonprofits are representative of nonprofits throughout the country. That anybody watch the Fixer Upper TV show, the Chip and Joanna Gaines. Every house that they do is in Waco, Texas, but we're all tuning in across the country. So I think the same thing could be done with Buzz, because we're featuring the Southwest Virginia Ballet. Every community across the country has a ballet that they can take some lessons and appreciation from the episode. So we're doing that, and meanwhile, I've started to have some conversations with Greater Lynchburg Community Foundation and others, because I would love to come and do some episodes here in Lynchburg. Buzz is every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. on Blue Ridge PBS. You can find out more about us at buzzforgood.com. All of our shows are also put on our YouTube channel, so you can watch them at any time. And that's Buzz, BUZZ, 4good.com. Our social media is at buzzforgood. I would welcome any of you to reach out subscribe to a newsletter. We also started a podcast and radio show on WFIR in Roanoke in the fall of 2021. It's an hour-long radio show that, again, features nonprofits. Thank y'all so much for having me today. I really appreciate being here. We would love to do some work here in Lynchburg featuring nonprofits.